And it doesn't have to be anything huge or anything pushy. Being a real human with them, saying like, we understand this is a big decision and we are here to answer any questions. Reach out to us at any time. As you're going through this follow-up, let them know when they can get started. Instead of just being like, call us to schedule,
Yes.
reach out and be like, hey, we would have an appointment for you on Thursday at 12 p.m. If that works, let's get you scheduled for it. Give them some options.
Yeah,
And
less thinking on their part.
and it gets them excited. Be like, oh my gosh, I could get braces on Thursday. Okay, that thought makes me excited.
Welcome to the Neon Buzz, where we offer marketing advice for oral, aesthetic, and other elective healthcare professionals. Sit back and relax while we share our digital marketing secrets to help you grow your practice.
Welcome back to the Neon Buzz. I'm here with Kayla today, our Director of Client Development, and we're going to kind of pick back up where we left off on a previous episode. Opal and I sat down in October and we talked about ways that you're losing leads, and we kind of stopped when you get to the free consult. So Kayla's kind of taken on this new role over the past few months, focusing more on coaching and practice development. So I think you're the perfect person to finish this conversation with.
Thank you.
I think we have a lot of good conversation. I think you have a lot of personal experience because
I do.
before you worked here at Neon Canvas, one of my favorite things you say is that you've done everything but touch the teeth. So can you talk a little bit about your orthodontic experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in orthodontics in about 2010. My first dive into an orthodontic office was off of a Craigslist ad, and
Craigslist, gotta love it.
I don't recommend taking jobs off of Craigslist,
Yeah.
but it was a different time back then. And I was answering phones at a front desk, and I started there and just kind of moved my way through different admin roles in offices, and I moved around a lot in my 20s, which was great.
Yeah.
And it got me a lot of experience at a lot of different types of offices. So I started at a pretty established office, worked there for a little bit. I moved to a multi-location office, like 3 locations, 5 doctors. It was huge. It was big office, so that was great to see how that operated. And then I worked at a startup. So first employee, ground up, very different from where I had come from, but I'd learned so much. And then right before joining Neon Canvas, I was a practice manager at an office outside of Chicago for about 8 years. So I really did a deep dive there into a lot of what we see now with offices.
Yeah, and I think, so you're in Chicago.
I am.
And so she's graced us with her presence in Memphis. We're so excited to have you.
I'm so happy to be here.
We talked a little bit about the free consult specifically. So once that it has been booked, what is kind of the next step? Or do we have to look backwards a little bit? Is there some prep there?
Yeah, no. So I think so often that the time period in between booking the consult and the patient coming into the office is overlooked when there's a lot that can be done in that time frame. Even if it's a few hours or the next day, there's significant that patient coming into the office. That's so important to do. And
Lots of little details.
So many. Like the small things really do add up in this. The small things make a big impact in the decision-making process.
In our last episode, like their name, but there's more to just telling your team, like, Amy's coming in, like that's not enough.
Right, absolutely. And so I always say, like, if your team is not having a morning huddle, like
The morning huddle.
let's start there. Like your team should be having a morning huddle, and that's a whole nother conversation we can have. But in that morning huddle, either your new patient coordinator or your treatment coordinator should be going over the new patients that are coming in that day and prepping the entire team of what to expect. Because when they walk into that office, you want whoever is the first one to greet them to have a little bit of a backstory, to know what's happening, to at least know their name.
Greet them well.
Because greeting a kid by name makes not only the kid feel so special,
Yes,
but like it makes the mom be like, oh, that's cool. Like They were well prepared.
There's almost this little pipeline of the name. We talked about it also, it being like on a board somewhere. The kid loves that. It's like being star student. And then the mom is like, I love that my kid loves it. Post it on social media. Like there's so many different ways.
There's so many different ways that don't take a lot of effort.
Yeah.
You know, we see offices, they just print off a welcome sign, or they have a letterboard or a chalkboard at the front that just lists the names of the kids that are coming in that day. One, it makes them feel special, like you said, but two, it gives your office an opportunity for exposure on social media. Mom is always going to take a picture opportunity if she can.
Of course.
So go stand next to that door, take that picture. Again, in morning huddle, going back to that, going over things like if a kid's having a second consult or a third consult, if the front desk knows that and can just communicate that to mom, like if they have to fill out paperwork or they're at the office, you know, just saying something little like, hey, I know you've been doing a lot of paperwork lately, but if you don't mind just signing our office privacy policy, mom's going to be like, oh, they're communicating.
And you're acknowledging their experience and being a human.
Yeah.
No one likes paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I always recommend offices to do, if you have some time and you can call the referring dental office before the patient comes in to see if they have those recent x-rays that you need to take. One, it's a great way to connect to a referring dentist, even if they didn't refer directly to you. It's like, hey, we're caring for your patient and we're going to take this extra step of care
to
contact you. Right. And then it also, when you tell mom, like, hey, we called Dr. Jones' office and we were able to get Johnny's pano in office, mom's going to be like, oh my gosh, that's great. They
impressive.
are not gonna, right, not only is that impressive, but like they're not gonna take an extra x-ray on my kid just because they're gonna put the effort forth to get that x-ray in their office. So that's what you can do before the kid even walks into your door. Do a little of the prep. The big things really do add up.
It kind of seems like a small brag to be like, I've communicated with your dentist. You have nothing else you need to do.
Exactly.
Great. You're not putting anything else back on them. We talked about in the Losing Leads episode about putting the burden back on the patient. And I think that theme follows through even after they've come in the door, and not bombarding them, being a human about the paperwork that no one likes, all of those things. So once you're in the room, there's a whole science to how the consult works, right? But what if you hear the dreaded words like, I need to think about it?
The most important thing with the consult is it's not a one-size-fits-all. And I think that's the approach that so many offices take. They're like, well, what are we doing wrong? What are other offices doing? And it's not a cookie-cutter experience for any office, for any demographic, for any doctor. You can't say, well, this is how you should do it. So the number one thing I say is read the room. Understand the patient. Understand maybe what they're feeling. You know, you might have to break out of your like step-by-step process that you've set up for your TC room. But one good thing that I love to tell TCs, if the mom is like, oh, I got to go home and talk to dad about this, or I don't know, we need some time to think about this. If there's still time on your schedule and you have a few minutes, give them a moment to like digest everything that you've just told them, because this is a big investment. It is a big decision for a lot of parents. And usually you've just unloaded, this is what it's going to be. This is the next 2 years. These are all the steps. This is how much it's going to cost. And sometimes they just need a moment to like take it all in. And give them that moment.
Of course.
Give them that moment. Say, you know what? I'm going to step out for a minute. If you want to call dad, chat with him, FaceTime, you can show him all this stuff. I'm happy to talk to dad if you want. I'm going to step out for 5 minutes, close the door, and I'll be right back in. Give them a minute. They're more likely to be able to talk to the kid and be like, hey, is this something you really want to do? Like, are you going to be good about it? Maybe call dad and be like, hey, we're here. If we sign the papers today, we get, you know, X percentage off. They can actually do the braces today. To take them out of school again, and give them that opportunity to have that conversation right there.
Yeah, and they think these are moments that are easily like get really awkward if you're just like, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, we don't know either. Like, we'll see you when we see you. Like, that's like the worst case scenario. But when you are following up, like you say they do need to make the decision at a different time.
Yeah.
What is the best way to follow up at that point?
Yeah, so I say two things. One, if they are going to leave the office without scheduling that actual start bonding scan appointment, whatever they need, set a fake appointment for them. Put it on your Google Calendar, but just let mom or decision maker anticipate the next time you're going to reach out to them.
I love a fake appointment.
That's
love so great.
A fake appointment. Even if it's just a reminder. If mom's like, I can't make a decision today, I need to come back, or if it's the person themselves being like, I need to think about this, great. Don't be awkward. Don't be pushy. No one likes a used car salesman,
No.
Don't make them feel pressured that they have to make the decision that day. But in the same time, let them know and anticipate that, like, there's going to be a follow-up.
Yeah.
How about Friday at 10, I give you a call and I can answer any questions that have come up in between now and then.
Yes.
And if they're like, oh, Friday at 10, I'll be at work. Okay, what time's your lunch on Friday? I'll call you over your lunch break.
I feel like it holds both parties accountable.
Yeah.
You hold your team accountable, holds them accountable, and you're not surprising them with a cold call like, it's us again.
Right, exactly. And hopefully you kind of give them a deadline to make a decision a little bit. Be like, okay, I'm going to start. We'll talk on Friday about payment options. The other thing I say, if someone has to leave without making a decision, I am a millennial mom. I have kids in braces age. Like, I have gone through the orthodontic process, and nothing is worse than like leaving with a pile of stuff.
I hate stuff.
The stuff. And I understand that there's aspects to like, oh, but it's a good marketing value, and oh, it has our logo on it, this and that. The only time I would have somebody like leave with stuff is if they need to go home and make that sale. Give them all of their tools, give them all of their resources, print out the photos of the kid, print out the contract, even take a Sharpie to it, draw on it a little bit, like show them exactly things. Yeah. And so if
that's a great point.
Mom does have to go home to decision maker, like she can lay it all out and make the sale herself. You have given her the tools to do that. But other than that, like, I don't own a file cabinet. I never
don't even own one.
I don't even own one. I have never had once in my life.
So how would you want to receive your follow-up paperwork?
I mean, let's talk about it like we have with other processes. Like, let's make it as seamless and as easy as possible for the patient. Hey, Mom, can I email you this paperwork, or would you like a print off of it? 99% of the time, they're going to be like, yeah, just go ahead and email it to me.
Yeah.
They'll move it to their email folder and probably never look at it again unless they need to for like an HSA, but they're not going to like file it away in their file cabinet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Document it.
I feel like there might be some people who feel like email is not as professional still, especially in the health space.
Yeah.
Is that something that you hear a lot, you see, or you're like, email is the way?
I think it's kind of taboo to be like, email's not professional. We have to look at who our target audience is, just like with anything else. And we're dealing with a generation of moms and decision makers who don't know any different than email. They've grown up with their AOL screen name. Like,
for some,
this email is what they're doing.
Email is professional and the text is casual, or the DM is casual and the email is professional, or the text is professional. But there's different tiers to it. But I think that some people get stuck in, we always have done a paper folder, and so we will always do that because that is the best. But kind of hearing it's like time and place.
Yeah, there's a time and there's a place for a paper folder, but I do not think every patient needs to leave with a paper folder. I would walk out of one of my offices, and it was in an office building, and there was a large trash cans, and every day I'd see one of our folders, and they're not cheap, and so just to be like, okay, this is not serving the purpose that we think it is. It's time to reevaluate.
Yeah, how do we pivot? We're
dealing with a new generation of moms. We're dealing with a different age of people. Like, we have to adjust for them.
Is it safe to say that the next appointment card is dead?
I would say the next appointment card
it's dead to me.
Is dead.
So
totally dead. Especially if you're like
no good.
writing it on the back of a business card. I'm just going to tell you right now, like, knock it off.
Like, knock it off. Yeah.
Writing the appointment on the back of the business card, don't do it. Now, like, if it's a 12-year-old kid and they got dropped off at the appointment or leaving by themselves, sure, print off the appointment card and be like, give this to Mom. But also, like, your office should be equipped with some sort of appointment reminder system,
yes,
that is sufficient enough.
I love some text message reminders.
Oh, 100%.
Love it.
If I don't get a text message reminder, the appointment's not happening.
It doesn't exist if you don't know about it from in your text messages. Yes, I think that if it doesn't exist in my text messages, I'm not going. I feel like when I get asked about the next day appointment card, I'm like, I've already put it in my Google Calendar right there on my phone.
Yep.
I'm moving on.
It's going to end up in the trash bin right next to the folder.
Yes. In the same line of giving folders and paperwork, do you see offices have success with giving away any like items, like T-shirts, anything like that?
You know, again, it's a read the room kind of a thing. I think if an office has something that really like speaks to them and is on brand for them, and they're like, this is really cool. Like, we can really get behind this. Like, this is unique to us. It fits with us. Great. Awesome. Do it. Kids are going to love getting something as long as it's cool. But a kid doesn't want the generic water bottle with your logo on it, or just the cheapest T-shirt possible with your giant logo on the middle of it.
Garbage giveaways.
That is a garbage giveaway that is not going to get you any ROI on your investment of buying these things.
They'll end up in that big old garbage can.
But like, if you have something that sets your office apart, you know, we have some clients who have a dog in their office regularly. And so they get T-shirts with like the photo of the dog on it. And,
that's
you know,
unique.
like, that is unique to them. That sets them apart. Like, that's cool.
And even if they didn't start, it's a really cute shirt, you guys.
So cute.
I would wear it. And I feel like that makes a lot more sense than, like, you know, your sticker of your logo.
Yeah. Something thoughtful, something intentional, go for it.
Okay.
100%. But if it's just giving something to give them something in that consult, like, you're wasting your money.
Good to have a definitive answer on that, too. I feel like that's a question that a lot of people have.
Yeah. Unpopular opinion.
Well, we'll make it popular. So I want to go back just a teeny bit back to the follow-up process after they've left. So say you set that fake appointment.
Right.
They don't answer you.
Right.
So now they're headed back to the land of maybe leads. Like, no start.
Yeah.
What is the best way to reach out to them at that point?
Yeah. So the start needed process is a tricky one.
Okay.
And I almost say, like, you need to clone your new patient follow-up to your start needed process. And it's an easy way to do the same sequence. You know, same day, send them a text, send them an email. It was so great to meet you today. As promised, here are your records and your financials that we discussed today. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. Like, that is easy to do. Same day. Like, before your TC leaves that day, they should be doing same day follow-up for all the start needed. And then enter that same sequence, you know, 3 business days, 7 business days, once a month. Like, your start needed should be followed up with at least once a month. And it doesn't have to be anything huge or anything pushy. Just being a real human with them, saying, like, we understand this is a big decision for you to make, and we are here to answer any questions that you might have. Reach out to us at any time. And also, like, as you're going through this follow-up, let them know when they can get started. You know, instead of just being like, call us to schedule, reach out and be like, hey, we would have an appointment for you on Thursday at 12 p.m. If that works, let's get you scheduled for it. You know, give them some options. Give them an idea of what can actually be feasible for them.
Yeah,
and
less thinking on their part.
And it gets them excited, being like, oh my gosh, I could get braces on Thursday. Okay. That thought makes me excited. I'm going to do this.
And going until you hear no. I assume,
until you hear no, which I know so many offices are like, I feel like I'm bothering them. They're not replying to me. But from personal experience, I have had patients who I saw and they were not quite ready to make that decision yet. You know, if that's an insurance reason, a financial reason, season of life reason, they just weren't quite ready to commit. But they might come in 6 months later and pay in full in cash. And if your treatment coordinator didn't do their follow-up because they felt like they were bothering them, like, treatment coordinators, it's time to swallow our egos and do the follow-up. Do the due diligence. You know, there's so much research about consumer behavior and making big investment purchases And like orthodontics falls into that same category as like purchasing a car. Sometimes big ticket item. And they say the 7 points of contact are usually needed before that decision is made.
Especially on something that high level and long-term commitment. It's not a one-time thing. You're, lots of appointments, lots of time. Yeah. I love that you have like personal experience with that, like seeing people come back 6 months later. You feel like that is impossible, but clearly you've seen it happen a lot.
Yeah.
So
it
is possible.
Yeah.
There's hope, everyone.
There is.
So what would you say if someone says no?
Yeah, that also happens. There's always going to be somebody who's going to go to the office down the street for X, Y, or Z reason, whatever that may be. You get that phone call and they say, oh, actually, we started treatment last month at so-and-so's office. Say, great. Doctor will be so happy to hear that Johnny is getting the treatment that he needs and deserves. If you need anything, please give us a call. We are here for you. I feel like
it's not pushy.
It's not pushy. It's letting them know that like your intentions were for the best for their kid and not to get the sale.
And even if it was because maybe they couldn't afford it, but their friend is asking, you could say, oh, we really wanted to go see, Dr. A, but we ended up going with Dr. B, but we have nothing but great things to say about the first doctor we went to go see. That says a lot. You're big fans of your practice, and they're not even patients.
Right. And who knows if, Johnny might have been their oldest kid, and they might have 3 more after. And if they don't have the best experience at Office B, they might be like, you know what? I think we're going to give Office A a try. They handled themselves with grace throughout the whole process and made themselves available for us, even after we turned them down.
Yes. If they turn you down for price, what do you kind of have an idea of what is the best thing to say?
Yeah, so I always recommend, don't ever devalue your services or what you're offering to a client. I think there's a point where you feel kind of pressured to be like, oh, we'll price match, or let me see the contract. Let me see what I can do to work the numbers.
Yeah.
But I think a better take on that is making sure that the patient is comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And, just stand behind the value of your treatment fee. Say, we feel like doctor does great work, and what we charge for treatment is worth the value of the service that you'll experience throughout your whole orthodontic journey.
Stand by it. Yeah. I feel like there's definitely times when people might not tell you that price is the reason, but if they do, that can be really awkward sometimes if you don't, already have your answer planned out. So I'm glad I asked that specific question. Is there anything else that you can think about that maybe we're missing on follow-ups after that consult, or getting someone to actually start?
I would say the biggest thing is just be intentional. You're dealing
with the whole team intentional.
The whole team intentional. Like you said earlier, we are dealing with humans, and it's so easy to look at these and be like, okay, numbers and conversions and percentages and this and that, and just know at the end of the day, like, you're dealing with humans who are making big decisions. Put yourselves in their shoes for a moment and just be available, be compassionate, be willing to answer as many questions as they have.
Yes.
And be there for them, because that's going to speak volumes down the road.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm so excited as you go into even more of this new role and helping practices on that coaching side of things. So I'm sure that we'll be seeing a lot more of Kayla. I already know that I've got some social media posts in the work for you. So thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or any comments, always feel free to DM them over to us. I'm always checking the DMs on all of our socials at Neon Canvas. Thanks for joining us, Kayla.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.